So this makes it so that every single loop goes back to around the same part of the same sign. So in a 12 sign zodiac with 27 or 28 nakshatras, you also have 22 loops of Mercury's retrogrades. Now each one of these so that means you can count 11 to the opposite sign. So if you go 2850 Cancer, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, right here. 15 degrees 46 Capricorn, 28 degrees to 15 degrees. So this is blue to the black. Blue to the black. The target date is January 14th, 1976. Okay? And then July 24th, 1972 for Cancer. It's going opposite. This is 1,270 days. 3 years, 5 months, 22 days. 3.5 years, half of 7 years. So it's a little off, but only because of the elongated orbit of Mercury. Okay. So we're going to try to make this simple. The cycle from any data point to the return to that data point is going to be about 7 years. 7 years, plus or minus a week or so. 7 years. So 7 years to go from here all the way around to here, advancing about or regressing about 7 degrees back along the zodiac. So to go from here to here. Because the orange points are the same cycle, this point, and then this point starts 2 different cycles in succession to each other. Just like here, there'll be a point around here, which will connect to a point around here, and then that would be its own cycle. So that's how this star regresses. So that means 7 years to go from this point to this point. That means to go from this orange point to this blue point should be about half of that, 3.5 years. All right, start at the beginning. So we're going to count, instead of 22 loops to go from beginning to end, we're going to go 11. Now this is counting, so we're going to count from here. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. Virgo is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, which is 28 degrees 50 of Cancer, is nearly opposite 22 degrees 35 of Capricorn. So that's 11 loops after this point. Just as counting 11 more. Right here, this is number 11. Okay, 28 degrees 50 Cancer. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 more, which is 15 degrees 46 Capricorn. Back in Capricorn, just as this is back in Capricorn. That's 11, 11, 22. So 11. So this blue point is 11 after this orange point, and then this black point is 11 after this blue point. That's the significance here. January 20th, 1969 to July 25th, 1972. July 24th, January 20th, 1969 to July 24th, 1972. That's when it's at 28 degrees, 50 minutes of Cancer. 28 degrees, 50 minutes of Cancer, right here. And this is 1282, 1283. This is 3 years and 6 months, 3.5 years. So it goes from one side to the other side every 3.5 years. That's when the pattern goes cardinal, fixed, mutable, back to cardinal. In a new point, that's 1 year. And then over here, it would be cardinal, fixed, mutable, cardinal. If it begins cardinal, it'll end mutable. However, if it begins mutable, it goes cardinal fixed. It ends fixed. And if it goes fixed, it goes mutable cardinal. This is why when you start something immutable, it'll go to cardinal and then fixed. When you start something in the mutable phase of life, the trine goes to cardinal to fixed. It'll end in fixed. That's where this star comes into play. When you begin a practice spiritually, whether it be fasting, like whether it be changing your habits, or if you try to begin it with your problem planet in a special, for instance, Mercury or the Sun in a mutable sign, so that according to this system, the trine would progress to the next sign, which would be the cardinal sign from the mutable. And then from there, it'll progress to the fixed, which helps establish the habit as fixed. This star is a problem-solving star. This star is designed to change the experiences of your body, to change the habits of your body, rather than your mind. That's the moon. This is not the moon. Okay? This is not the moon. This is experience. This is habits. This star is designed to change your habits. That's why it's evil, because they don't want you to know about this star. This is why it's plastered everywhere, to be hated as Remphan. And all of this is because of Mercury's orbit. Mercury's orbit, 7 years. This is one of the reasons why, besides them saying Saturn's orbit divided by 4 is about 7 years, 7+ years. This is how Saturn and Mercury connect. This is the star to be like Saturn. This is how Mercury acts like Saturn. Saturn's orbit takes 29.4475 years. That's 29 and almost 6 months. Divide that by 4, and you get approximately 7 years and 5 months. That's a quarter of Saturn's orbit. 7 years, 5 months. Mercury's orbit is approximately 7 years. But when Saturn goes retrograde in that time period of 29.44 years, it can return or stay in a sign for 4+ months. This slowdown makes it possible for Mercury to catch up, and this marks Mercury's interactions with Saturn. This is where Saturn and Mercury meet or harmonize in the cycles of the planets. In Indian thought, this is the shat-kona. This is the 6 angles. It is the balance of the soul with your intention. This is how Saturn and Mercury connect, is that discipline of Saturn balancing, counteracting the experience of Mercury, the raw experience of Mercury. This star begins as the star of Mercury, being hit in the head like a punching bag, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. This is the star of Mercury. This is the star of experience, raw experience. But it grows into the star of Saturn after these interactions. It's the measure of Mercury to grow into the understanding of Saturn. The hexagonal storm over Saturn, at the North Pole of Saturn, is the expression of that resonance. The transfer from the orbit of Mercury, the immaterial orbit of Mercury, to the solid, tangible object that is Saturn. That's discipline, turning what is ethereal into something material, as real. In fact, this hexagram over Saturn is the resonance of our karmas, of the balance of man, the storm that is man. And in fact, no one has said this before, but in these images, the black and white one is actually from NASA. In these images, it almost looks like this is a big nipple. The hexagon actually looks like a nipple, or an aureola, is it called? And this whole thing looks like a breast. But it really does. It looks like a nipple to me. I'm not saying it's an X-rated image, but this turns the masculine fatherly energy into the spiritual feminine energy. And that is our nourishment. Our nourishment, that is our karmas. That is the milk that we receive, that is in the nakshatra of Revati. The milk that we receive from the divine. And that milk can either be sweet or sour, good karma or bad karma. That's made tangible. It's within us. It's how we see things. We could have the world being evil. We can have our situation be dire, but it's how we deal with that. It's how we respond to that is the important part.
Because people think spirituality is all very sweet and fine, feeling angels, golden light, and feeling divine. No, it's when there is suffering, suffer, become one with the suffering, burn in it, and that suffering will never bother you again. Because each suffering, each of the mental whatever traumas we have, they keep repeating. You never gave them your full attention. You never lived the whole part of that ego, which is still that boy inside you who always felt rejected. Be with it. Feel shitty. Feel down. Live the whole thing. Go really to the bottom pit. Our unlived sufferings are our karmas. You live a happiness. When it comes to the suffering, you withdraw. You go to a guru, do the meditation. But you don't go to a guru when you just found a girlfriend. You go to guru when she leaves you. That everybody remembers the divine in suffering. Nobody remembers in happiness. If you remember in happiness, there will be no suffering. Because in remembering the divine in happiness, you don't get attached to it. Welcome sufferings. You say, come, have a tea with me, let's talk.